statue of him on the side of King's College. That is his second son, called Henry. He had an oldest King Arthur. He died very young, and I think just about 16, 17 years old. The young king suddenly passed away. So his younger brother Henry became the new king, and that's the guy we have to focus on. For some of you guys, you're already quite familiar with the story of him, but I'll just tell you once more. King Henry VIII, ladies and gents, the first thing he did, which is a bit out of ordinary, he married his sister-in-law. So his big brother, King Arthur, was married to a Spanish princess, Catherine of Aragon. So Henry VIII married her again, so he married his sister-in-law. Now, they actually had a pretty happy, healthy family lifestyle and marriage as well, which lasted for over 20 years. If you think about a marriage 500 years ago that lasts for 20 years, that's a happy, healthy marriage. The people adored the queen. But the only problem is, and it's a big problem, after 20 years of marriage, the queen had only given birth to a princess, to a daughter, while the king really wanted a boy, a male heir to the English throne, which England at the time had never had a queen ruling over the kingdom before. So Henry VIII decided the only way I can get this done is to divorce my wife. I need to remarry in order to produce a legitimate male heir. And that's the problem, because remember when I said England previously for nearly 1,000 years had always been a Catholic kingdom? Well, under the Roman Catholic rule, you cannot divorce. It doesn't matter who you are. Even you're the king, divorce is just not allowed. In the beginning, Henry VIII tried to be nice about it. He tried to apply, for permission to divorce, tried to apply for a divorce, but he was rejected a few more times. Eventually, Henry VIII was fed up. He said, you know what, I'm the king. I do whatever I want. This is my kingdom. So around 1534, he did something that changed the whole history. He separated England from the Roman Catholic Church, and he started his own church. Church of England. And he made himself to be the head of church. This means nobody controls him anymore, ladies and gents, and he was out of control. Did he remarry? Oh yes, big times. It wasn't once, it wasn't twice. 3 times was not enough for him. 4 times, oh no. He remarried 5 more times. And so in total, Henry VIII had 6 different wives. If you wonder what happened to these queens, there's a very easy way to remember it. Divorced with his first wife, we know. Beheaded, killed by him, his second wife, and died the third. Divorced again with his fourth wife. Beheaded again, the 5th one. And finally survived the last one. So if you say this quickly, it actually rhymes. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, and survived. That's what happened to them, ladies and gents. Now, out of 6 different wives, Henry VIII initially had 3 children. With his first wife, we know there was a daughter, Princess Mary. With his second wife, to his disappointment, another daughter, Princess Elizabeth. And finally, with his third and last wife, Jane Seymour, there was a boy, there was a son. Hooray! The whole kingdom was celebrating. You may think, okay, that's it. He's got a boy, everything is good. Now, after Henry VIII himself died around 1547, naturally his only boy, his only son, became King Edward VI. Continued his father's steps to establish the Church of England. You think, okay, that's all good. Well, this young king also dies very young as well, again around 16, 17 years of age. So after all the hustle of changing after changing the religion of the kingdom, eventually it was his daughters, it was the girls who ruled over, ladies and gents. His first daughter became Queen Mary the first official queen that ruled over England. Unfortunately though, Queen Mary wasn't a very pleasant lady. She was she had a twisted personality, she's a child of divorce, as we say today. And but more importantly, Queen Mary, she was a devoted Catholic. So the first thing she did was to reinforce Catholicism back to the kingdom. And she's not just happy with that. She needs to punish the people who had betrayed her religion. Now, hundreds, if not thousands of them were murdered and burned at stakes in front of the public, mercilessly murdered by Queen Mary. In fact, the series of events given her the very famous title, the famous/infamous Bloody Mary in history, ladies and gents. Today we all have heard of Bloody Mary. It's a cocktail now, but that was the daughter of King Henry VIII. Bloody Mary ruled for about 5 years and she died without any heir. So her half-sister then took over, became Queen Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, as we call. Elizabeth I, she ruled for over 40 years. She's a very clever girl, and she was a Protestant, so the religion changes back to the Church of England. So what King Henry VIII started was called the English Reformation, the dissolution of monarchy. It's a series of religious changes in the past 30-40 years. It's a very unstable time, but it's during the Elizabethan era. Many more colleges in both Cambridge and Oxford were founded, and also during the Elizabethan era, one of the greatest English playwrights we all know about was born and grew up in her time. That will be none other than William Shakespeare, ladies and gents. Now, after Queen Elizabeth I died, the whole dynasty died with her because she never got married, never had children. She's the Virgin Queen. Before I continue, on the right-hand side, you see a building says the Cambridge American Cemetery. This is to pay tribute to the American soldiers who lost their lives during the First and the Second World War here in England. Many of their bodies never recovered. So here collectively in Cambridgeshire, we have a cemetery for them. Many people travel overseas, come here to find lost relatives, actually. So now, ladies and gents, you know the whole story of the Tudors. Began with King Henry VII, ended with Queen Elizabeth I. When we go to Oxford, where we drop you guys off, right next door, you have a memorial statue there, which is called the Martyrs Memorial. And that is to commemorate of the victims of Bloody Mary in Oxford, so we can connect our little dots together. And the college we're going to visit, Christ Church College, is the largest of the 39. There are 39 colleges in Oxford rather than 31. It's bigger. So who founded Christ Church College? The initial foundation, the idea for building this college was actually started by Thomas Wolsey. Thomas Wolsey was the Chancellor of Henry VIII. He was one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in the kingdom at the time. But Thomas Wolsey, the issue was he was scared. The king asked him to get himself a divorce. He didn't do the job. So he was very, very scared for many years. In his later years, he thought the king will murder him or punish him of some sort. So to ease the king, to bribe the king for not murdering him, Thomas Wolsey handed over plenty of money and land, and so the king spared his life. So he's the one who started the foundation of Christ Church College, but later on King Henry VIII gets ownership and finished it. But I'll tell you about it later, ladies and gents. Enjoy the time when we're still on smooth road, and fall into sleep now. I release you to your sleeps, because even the shortest way to get between Cambridge and Oxford, unfortunately, is not the most straightforward. There are quite a few roundabouts coming up. So for those of you guys, especially if you experience motion sickness, I recommend just close your eyes and slowly doze into an afternoon nap. And 20 minutes before we arrive in Oxford, I'll be back on the mic to tell you all about the history of the city and the university as well, which is very similar to Cambridge, but different, unique in its own ways. But for now, enjoy the journey, you guys. 我们大中文团的各位也是趁这段还是路比较平坦的时候，给大家讲讲这个小故事。